What? I like the music. Oh, fine. Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shot, the Zelda Dungeon video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question is from Deku Wudo. Following on from last week's question about favorite moments, what is your funniest Zelda moment in the series? Another question for you guys to answer in the comments. For me, it would actually be from Twilight Princess. Yes, a good thing for me to say about Twilight Princess for once. It was the moment when you were in Telma's bar and you were agreeing to help transport Ilia to Kakariko Village and such, and basically all the guards got riled up and said they were going to come help, and then Telma talked about and they were like, "Oh, yeah!" And then Telma talked about how there would be so many dangerous beasts and stuff, and I just loved it how they did all the cheering and the manliness, and then they just flipped out. I thought that was hilarious, and I think they haven't really topped that before or since, but that's just me. Tell me your guys' favorites. RK asks, do you think the Ocean King and the Windfish are related somehow? I don't think they're like canonically related, but I do think that there's an obvious parallel there. I mean, they're both like almost whale-like giant fish who seem to either exist in a dream or an alternate dimension of sorts, and they have some kind of mystic ocean powers. I think that they were definitely trying to make a reference to the Ocean King with, or reference to the Windfish with the Ocean King, but I do think that also, they might not intend it canonically, but it's like another thing they left for us to fan theorize about to feed our love of the series or whatever. Alessio Clark asks, do you think that the fairies of courage, power, etc. are the three goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Furore, in fairy form or something like that? In other words, do they have anything to do with them? Referring to the Phantom Hourglass. I believe not, because specifically the three spirits or whatever, they were called spirits. They were fairies in appearance, but they were supposed to be spirits, not fairies. They were basically, from what I could tell, they were intimately tied to the Ocean King's power. They served the Ocean King, lived in his world, etc. So I don't think that they could be the goddesses unless the Ocean King is above the goddesses. I'm pretty sure it's just another usage of the three traits. I mean, I don't think the oracles were necessarily that they were the goddesses. They could have been praying to them, but so I don't think this has to be either. I don't think everything has to do with the goddesses just because it has those three traits, or those three colors in some cases. So no, I don't think they're related. Daniel Corey asks, I was playing A Link to the Past, and in the beginning it was talking about the 7 wise men sealing the gate to the Golden Land. Is this the story of the Twili being sealed? After all, in A Link to the Past you need the magic mirror to travel back and forth, just like Twilight Princess. Well, the magic mirror, all it did was take you out of the dark world. It was a way to get out. I don't think that was supposed to be parallel to the Mirror of Twilight. The Mirror of Twilight might have been an intended reference, but that's about it. I don't know. There's a lot of these events in Zelda history, these wars and various events, and people try to connect them. And, you know, that's cool, and I think sometimes they're misguided, but sometimes they're onto something, and I think this connection is a little intriguing. Not being a significant timeline guy, I mean, I know some stuff, but I don't know everything. I can't say for certain about how much things add up, but it sort of makes sense to me. The thing is that obviously they didn't intend it with A Link to the Past. The one thing that always intrigued me is the Dark Tribe, constantly referenced, and I think it was referenced in A Link to the Past. I believe that was supposed to be what Ganon's group was, I think. I might be wrong in there, but I'm pretty sure A Link to the Past mentioned a Dark Tribe. Aghanim might have been from it. And they mentioned a Dark Tribe in Majora's Mask. I don't know if the Twilight is the Dark Tribe. That would probably be the only explanation for it being A Link to the Past, in my opinion. I don't know if they are. They seem a little too... I don't know, it seemed like they used to be very evil, and then they kind of mellowed out. Except for Zant. Whoa. He didn't mellow out at all. But... you know, I think that it'd be more interesting if the Dark Tribe was something a lot more sinister, or maybe we'll see an older sect of the Twilight that are still evil. I don't know. But I think the Dark Tribe is a very intriguing part of the series, and I would frankly like to see more done with them. Maybe that's who appears in Skyward Sword. That would intrigue me a lot, actually. That would be really cool. Aaron Gillespie asks, in Twilight Princess, Zelda seems to be the only member of the royal family and the matriarch of Hyrule. If this is the case, why isn't she called Queen Zelda instead of Princess Zelda? There's some weirdness with, like, the politics in Hyrule and stuff. I think Petman wrote an article about that a while back, one of our first articles, I believe. One thing is that I kind of just think she's the princess because she's always been Princess Zelda, and also because maybe she hasn't married yet. I don't know how Hyrulean politics work. I don't know. It is weird. You're right. As for her relatives or whatever, they might have not just not appeared. I mean, that's a really common thing in video games. Just because they don't appear doesn't mean they're not there. They're just not put in the playing area. So I don't know. Alessio, Andrew Parpasia asks, in Majora's Mask, what kinds of items, accomplishments do you lose when you travel back to the first day? Really, you only lose the the quantities of items you have, and a couple rare instances of items that were very temporary, like the Razor Sword, and of course bottled stuff. Really, it's what you're basically doing is rewinding time to before you got those items. But in order to not break the traditional Zelda control gameplay of collecting a new dungeon item and going forward, they didn't get rid of the actual items, just the quantity you have of them. That's how they worked it out gameplay-wise. The gameplay of Majora's Mask doesn't quite mix with the story canonicalness of what's going on. It's a little weird. It's a weird balance. But yeah, you only lose the quantities and stuff like that. Scott asks, have you played Ocarina of Time Master's Quest? Have you beaten it? What comments, if any, can you offer about the difficulty of its dungeons in comparison to the original Ocarina of Time? I have played and beaten Master's Quest. I jumped at that opportunity when I heard it was a harder Ocarina of Time. You know me. But, it actually was pretty hard. I think it actually quite trumped Ocarina of Time's difficulty. My only issue is that in some places I didn't think it did it in a good way. It was just a little more weird or confusing. They tried to make new objects and challenges that you didn't even encounter before, and I think they did it it kind of felt weird and not like a full game, like it was a fan game almost, a little bit. And I guess that's a little way it is constructed like one, but it just bugged me in that. It was a lot harder though. I just think they could have played more off what Ocarina of Time had than trying to do something new, and that might have worked better, just like a more hardcore version. And I guess it was that, but kind of wasn't. I don't know. I'm probably not making sense by this point. Hopefully you've gleaned what I intend to say. Stephen Beeler asks, currently there are 2 games with the Endurance Dungeons, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Which is your favorite of the 2, and do you want to see this become a tradition in Zelda? Referring to like the Savage Labyrinth and Cave of Ordeals, I take it. Actually, there are 3. In Spirit Tracks, they had the Take 'em All On challenge, where basically you pay rupees and you fight through a dungeon. Now, that's a mini-game, but it's still kind of a dungeon, and it's the same principle. As for what I think of it, I love it to death. It's hard. I've always loved boss rushes or enemy Coliseum-type things in games. And I do want it to become a tradition. In fact, I think it already kind of has. Ever since the Wind Waker, aside from a few spin-offs, perhaps, it's been in every main game. Even Spirit Tracks had it. So I think we've already pretty much solidified it. I just hope it keeps up. That's my thoughts. Dan of Thursday asks, hey Axel, I thought the Minish Cap could not be at the beginning of the timeline because in the game the Master Sword, also known as the Picori Blade, was broken by Vati and it was forged into the Four Sword. How could that be before Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or Wind Waker or Link to the Past? All the games with the Master Sword. The Picori Sword isn't the Master Sword. As far as I can tell, there's nothing that really says that. Theoretically you could make that connection. I don't think there's anything that directly contradicts it, but I don't think there's any reason to think that. I'm pretty sure, and I'm almost certain of it, that they're supposed to be different swords, so it doesn't contradict it. Either way, there's always the swords turning into different things. Who knows? Rambo Zelda asks, what do you think happened to Link's uncle in A Link to the Past? He appeared to die at the beginning, but he was fine in the credits. Was this a mistake by Nintendo? No. In the credits it says Link's uncle recovered or something like that. Most people think that Link's wish upon the Triforce was to either revive his uncle or more specifically to undo everything Ganon did. Well, technically it's not proven. There's no better explanation, and it really makes sense. So it's almost true, unproven theory kind of thing. I think he did die as opposed to actually just getting ill or whatever in the beginning. That is a weird explanation. Joey Sinclair asks, "Hey Axel, do you think that the land below the clouds in Skyward Sword will have actual characters and towns, or do you think it will just be completely overrun by monsters and evil?" I think that you might be onto something. We might not see towns and stuff down there. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a couple scattered NPCs, but that's an interesting thought, and it supports some of my theories that I might have written in a few articles, that it's an old Hyrule and there's no civilization there yet. And it'd be interesting to have this dangerous land. That'd be more like the original Legend of Zelda. I'd like that. That'd be cool. Last question. Zifzy the Great asks, "Assuming that the Minish Cap is the first game chronologically on the Zelda timeline, as most timeline theorists agree upon, do you think Skyward Sword could be linking Minish Cap to Ocarina of Time?" Yeah, that's probable. I mean, I think it's going to either be a prequel to the Minish Cap or connect them, as you say. So I think that's probable, yeah. So, yeah, that's all I can say there. I think that, this might fill in some questions we have about the early portions on the timeline, though I don't expect it to connect things flawlessly. Alright, guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the email address in the description, and later.